Today we're going to discuss fluid levels in a transmission. On an automatic transmission, fluid level is absolutely critical. There's no room for error. An engine can be a quart low and you're still going to have a hydrodynamic wedge protecting the bearing surfaces. It's not that critical on the engine. If you lose pressure for a second or two, there's still oil on all the bearings, it keeps rocking and rolling. A transmission loses pressure for even 1 second at the elevated power levels that most of our customers are running, you've cooked the clutch pack and you get to start over. You get to pull it out, you get to send it back, you get to pay us or somebody to repair it, freshen it up, cut and clean the converter and shipping, and start over. It's an extremely expensive mistake to leave one of these things low on fluid, and it happens all too often. What we've learned is we try to instruct the customer how to check the dipstick for accuracy. If you fill the thing with fluid and you're not checking it accurately, it doesn't matter what the dipstick says if it's inaccurate. What we're looking for is to make sure that the hash marks on the dipstick, or the full mark, is a 1/4 inch above this pan rail right here. So these hash marks are actually go up to almost a 1/2 inch above that. The middle of it's about a 1/4 inch. That is about where we want to be, is about the middle of the hash marks on this particular unit. One reason it's like that is because this dipstick's not completely installed. That's another thing to watch for when you're, from time to time, the dipstick could have been accurate previously, you pull the transmission out, you reinstall it. If the dipstick's installed differently, the calibration can change because you're moving the marks up and down relative to the transmission and the fluid level. What we've seen is, on a 480 specifically, we build a lot of these, they're sensitive to fluid level. And if they're a quart low, the customer will burn them up in a fairly low amount of mileage. It's easy to determine if it was low on fluid by which particular clutch packs were burnt. And without checking the dipstick for accuracy, you don't have a feedback to actually know if what you're checking is correct. So the first step is to make sure when you install the transmission that the dipstick is actually correct. Once you've done that, then you can go about the normal fill procedure and test drive and double check and triple check the fluid level. What I suspect happens a lot of times is customers are installing these, or installers, happens in shops a lot. You would think a shop would know how to fill fluid level. It seems to be a forgotten art. We've had fairly high-end shops burn up transmissions because the fluid level was low and it's not covered under warranty. So we have a packet we send out with every transmission that shows how to properly calibrate the dipstick. And when you fill the fluid level, what we recommend is you put 5 or 6 quarts in to start, then you start the engine and you immediately add 3 or 4 more quarts and begin checking the fluid. What that does is it prevents you from overfilling the transmission initially and it all running out the vent line or burping. And then when you start it up, the pan gets sucked dry filling the converter. So you should be immediately pouring fluid into the dipstick to refill the pan. If you have to kill the vehicle real quick to add a little more and then get it on the stick before you restart it, that's perfectly fine. It's better than running the transmission dry. Once you've got the fluid level checked with the thing running and it seems to be close to full, you need to run the transmission through the gears on the lift or in the garage, however you're installing the transmission. Make sure it's full on the stick after it's been ran through all the gears. Hold it in each gear for a few seconds and shift it back. Then you want to go on a short test drive with easy power. You do not want to take the first test drive and be blasting on this thing wide open throttle. You're more than likely going to burn it up because it's probably going to be low on fluid, because until it's shifted through all the gears and filled up all these circuits, filled up all the servos and all the various passages and little cavities in the transmission, it'll eat a quart or two. So the first test drive, by the time you get back, you may be 2 quarts low, which is easy to burn a transmission up 2 quarts low. It may even not want to go into reverse when it's 2 quarts low. So continue to check and fill until it's completely full, it's been test driven, it's gone through all the gears, it's gotten temperature in it. And another thing to keep in mind when you're checking the fluid is the bends in the dipstick can hold fluid. And so you can get a false reading on the stick. So when you put the stick in the car and you're checking the fluid level, you want to clean the stick off, insert it, leave it in for about 5 seconds. Let the air go away from the stick. Sometimes if you stick it in and immediately pull it back out, you won't see anything on the stick because you didn't give it time for the fluid to actually catch on the metal. And you pull it back out and check your fluid level. And keep doing it. Sometimes it's hard to see the fluid on the stick until you feel you have an accurate reading. Very expensive mistake to run one of these things low on fluid. It's not a build problem, it's an installer problem, and we've seen it probably 1 or 2 transmissions a month we get back of the 40 to 50 we ship, that somebody's left them low on fluid. It's easy to detect, again, with the clutches that are damaged, the specific multiple clutches that get damaged. We know it's low fluid level. We dyno test the transmissions. We know they leave here with proper pressure. They come back and the forward clutches are burnt, intermediates are burnt. It's low fluid level. And it's a shame to see an expensive transmission get damaged because of a simple task like checking fluid level.